My child, pause for a moment. Set down whatever you are carrying. Quiet the noise around you, and give me your attention. You have been moving quickly, thinking about everything that must be finished, everything that needs to be solved, everything that could go wrong, and everything tomorrow might bring. Your mind has been pulled in countless directions. Even when your body is still, your thoughts continue racing from one concern to another. But right now, I am inviting you to stop. You do not need to solve everything in this moment. You do not need to understand every detail of your life before you can breathe again. You only need to become still enough to hear what I am placing before you. This moment is not meant to frighten you, pressure you, or make you feel as though you must earn my attention. It is an invitation to step away from the constant demands of the world and remember that your life is more than a list of responsibilities, unfinished tasks, and unanswered questions. You have spent so much time listening to other voices. You have listened to the expectations of people who believe they know what you should do. You have listened to opinions that caused you to question your own direction. You have listened to fear predicting everything that could fail, disappointment reminding you of what never happened, and uncertainty asking whether anything will ever become clear. Those voices have competed for your attention for so long that it has become difficult to recognize the quiet voice of truth. That is why I am asking you to pause. Not every voice deserves access to your heart. Not every thought deserves to be believed. Not every concern requires an immediate answer. There are times when wisdom begins not with action, but with stillness. There are moments when the most important step you can take is to stop moving long enough to listen. Perhaps you have recently wondered whether I still speak, whether I still guide you, or whether I am truly aware of where you are. Perhaps you have asked for some kind of confirmation, not necessarily through a dramatic sign, but through a quiet assurance that your life has not slipped beyond my attention. Maybe you have prayed, God, show me what to do next. Help me understand what I cannot see. Give me peace about the decision before me. Let me know that I am not wandering without direction. Those questions were not meaningless. They did not disappear simply because you spoke them quietly. The longing behind them matters. Your desire for clarity matters. Your need for reassurance matters. Even the questions you have not known how to express carry meaning before me. You do not need perfect words to be heard. You do not need to create a polished prayer or prove that your faith is strong enough. Come as you are in this moment, uncertain, distracted, hopeful, hesitant, tired, curious, or even doubtful. You are not being asked to pretend. You are being asked to listen. There is a difference between hearing words and truly receiving them. You hear countless words every day. Messages appear on your screen. People offer advice. The news competes for your attention. Responsibilities call your name. Yet very little of what you hear is allowed to reach the deepest part of you. You have learned to move quickly from one thing to the next, often without noticing what is happening inside your own heart. But I am calling you into a different kind of attention. I am asking you to listen without rushing ahead. Do not immediately turn these words into another task. Do not ask how quickly you can use them, explain them, or share them. Let them settle within you first. Allow yourself to be fully present. Take a slow breath. Release the pressure to perform. You are not standing before me as an employee waiting for instructions from a demanding master. You are drawing near as a beloved child who has been invited into a conversation. I do not speak to overwhelm you. I speak to bring order where there has been confusion, peace where there has been inner noise, and direction where there has been hesitation. But direction is often missed when the heart is crowded. You may be asking me to show you the entire path, when what you need first is the willingness to notice the next step. You may be waiting for a loud answer, while I am leading you through a quiet conviction. You may expect clarity to arrive all at once, but sometimes it begins as a gentle awareness that something within you must change. Do not reject small beginnings. Do not assume that guidance must be dramatic in order to be real. A quiet truth can redirect an entire life when it is received with an open heart. This is why your attention matters. Attention is more than looking in one direction. It is choosing what will shape your thoughts, influence your decisions, and occupy the sacred space within you. Whatever you continually focus on will eventually affect how you see yourself, how you interpret your circumstances, and how you respond to whatever comes next. If you give all your attention to fear, fear will begin to appear greater than every possibility before you. If you focus only on uncertainty, you will overlook the wisdom already available to you. If you allow every outside opinion to become your guide, you will lose touch with the quiet conviction I am developing within you. Guard your attention not because you should live in fear of the world, but because your heart needs room to recognize the truth. You do not need to withdraw from life, you need to stop allowing life's noise to rule your inner world. There are responsibilities you must return to, conversations you must have, and decisions you must make. Stillness is not an escape from those things. It is preparation to face them with greater clarity. When you become still, you begin to separate what is truly urgent from what is merely loud. You begin to recognize the difference between pressure and purpose. You begin to understand that not every opportunity is an assignment, not every delay is a disaster, and not every closed path must be forced open. Some things become clearer when you stop struggling to control them. You have tried to think your way through every possible outcome. You have replayed conversations, imagined future problems, and questioned whether you are making the right choices. But constant analysis cannot produce the peace that comes from trust. There will always be details you cannot predict. There will always be parts of the journey you cannot see from where you are standing. You are not required to know everything before taking the next faithful step. You are only being asked to remain open, honest, and attentive. Let this moment remind you that you are allowed to slow down. You are allowed to admit that you need guidance. You are allowed to release the illusion that everything depends entirely on you. The world may reward constant movement, but your soul needs moments of quiet. Your schedule may tell you that there is no time to stop, but without stillness, you may continue moving in directions that exhaust you without leading you anywhere meaningful. Pausing is not a waste of time. Listening is not weakness. Waiting for clarity is not failure. There is courage in refusing to be driven by panic. There is wisdom in creating space before making an important decision. There is strength in saying, "I will not allow fear to choose for me." Perhaps you expected an answer that would immediately tell you exactly what will happen next. Instead, I am first asking for your presence. Before you receive direction, become willing to listen. Before you ask for certainty, become willing to trust. Before you demand a complete map, become attentive to the light already in front of you. You may discover that some of the confusion you feel does not come from a lack of guidance, but from too many competing voices. You may realize that you already know the next honest step, but fear has caused you to hesitate. You may recognize that the peace you have been seeking will not come from controlling every outcome, but from becoming grounded in what is true today. Do not rush past that realization. Let it become clear. Let it become steady. Let it guide you without forcing you. I am not asking you to make a dramatic promise in this moment. I am asking you to open your heart. Set aside the need to impress anyone. Release the habit of comparing your path with someone else's. Your life does not need to unfold according to another person's timeline. Your next step does not need to appear important to others in order to be meaningful. What matters is that you become honest about where you are and willing to receive the direction that is right for you. There may be things you have outgrown but continue holding on to because they are familiar. There may be choices you keep postponing because you are afraid of disappointing someone. There may be a quiet desire within you that you have dismissed because it does not fit the expectations others have placed upon you. Do not force an answer yet. Simply notice what rises within you when the noise becomes quiet. Pay attention to what brings a deep sense of peace rather than temporary excitement. Pay attention to what draws you toward integrity, compassion, courage, and truth. Pay attention to the difference between the voice that condemns you and the voice that corrects you with love. Condemnation leaves you feeling trapped and hopeless. Loving guidance shows you a better way forward. Fear tells you that one wrong step will ruin everything. Wisdom teaches you to move carefully, learn humbly, and trust that growth is still possible. You have not reached the end of your story. You are not standing in a place where nothing more can be learned, changed, or renewed. But before anything new can be understood, you must be willing to stop carrying every old assumption into the next moment. Come with an unclenched heart. Come without demanding that the answer look exactly as you imagined. Come prepared to listen more deeply than you have ever listened before. This moment may appear ordinary from the outside. Nothing around you may have changed. The room may look the same, your responsibilities may still be waiting. Your questions may not have disappeared. Yet something important begins when your attention turns away from confusion and toward truth. A shift begins when you choose presence over panic. Clarity begins when you become quiet enough to recognize what has been hidden beneath the noise. Do not measure the significance of this moment by how dramatic it feels. Some of the most important changes begin silently. A decision forms, a burden loosens, a new perspective takes root. A heart that has been restless becomes willing to trust again. Stay here for a moment longer. Breathe. Listen. Let your thoughts settle. You do not have to hurry into the next chapter before you are ready to receive what it holds. First, remember that you have been invited to draw near. You have been given permission to become still. Your questions have been acknowledged. Your desire for direction has been heard, and your attention is being called back to what matters most. Before I speak to you about the road ahead, I want you to understand something essential about the road behind you. Through every moment you questioned, searched, waited, and wondered, you were never outside my sight. My child, before you look toward what lies ahead, understand this clearly. You were never alone in what you endured. I was with you through every hidden battle, every restless night, and every moment when you felt unseen. Others may have believed you were doing well because you continued working, caring for people, fulfilling your responsibilities, and smiling when necessary. They saw your strength, but they did not see how much that strength cost you. I saw it all. I knew when you were exhausted but kept going because others depended on you. I knew when your heart was heavy, even though you told everyone you were fine. I knew when you entered a room carrying pain no one else could see. Not one part of your struggle was hidden from me. I saw the nights when your body was tired, but your mind refused to rest. I heard the questions you repeated in the darkness and the fears you were too afraid to speak aloud. When you tried to pray but could not find the right words, I understood what your heart was saying. When all you could offer was a tear, a sigh, or a whispered cry for help, I received it as a prayer. You never needed perfect words to reach me. You never needed to appear strong before drawing near. I was present in your weakness, your confusion, and your silence. There were seasons when you could not feel me and wondered whether I had moved away. Faith had once seemed natural, but disappointment made it harder to trust. You prayed and waited, yet nothing appeared to change. You searched for reassurance but found only silence. You may have mistaken that silence for absence, but I remained close. Your feelings changed. My presence did not. I stayed when your confidence weakened, when your prayers became uncertain, and when you began questioning what you once believed. Your doubts did not offend me. Your questions did not cause me to reject you. I did not demand that you hide your confusion or pretend to possess unwavering faith. When you admitted that you were afraid, tired, or unsure how much longer you could continue, I listened without condemnation. I knew that your honesty was not rebellion. It was the cry of a weary heart longing to be understood. I also saw the rejection that caused you to question your worth. I saw when someone you trusted became distant, when affection was withdrawn, or when your loyalty was taken for granted. I heard the words that wounded you and remained in your memory long after others had forgotten them. You wondered whether you had been too much, not enough, or somehow responsible for being left behind. You examined yourself, changed your behavior, and became more guarded because you feared being rejected again. But the way others treated you never determined your value to me. Their inability to recognize your heart did not make you less worthy of love. Their departure did not erase your importance. Their silence did not make you invisible. I knew you completely, including the parts others misunderstood, and I remained with you. I was near when betrayal came from people you believed would protect you. I saw promises broken, trust mishandled, and kindness returned with indifference. Some wounds were especially painful because they came from familiar hands. I understood why you became cautious and why opening your heart again felt dangerous. I did not shame you for needing time. I did not rush your grief or demand that you behave as though nothing had happened. I stayed with you through the anger, sadness, disappointment, and confusion. When an old memory returned unexpectedly and stirred pain you believed had passed, I was patient with you. You did not have to hide your wound from me or pretend that it no longer mattered. I saw the loneliness you rarely discussed. At times, You were surrounded by people and still felt unknown. You listened to others, encouraged them, and carried their concerns, yet wondered who would make room for yours. You became the dependable one, the strong one, the person people turned to whenever they needed help. But when your own heart grew tired, you did not always know whom to trust. You feared becoming a burden, so you remained silent. You said, "I'm fine," while hoping someone would look more closely and recognize that you were not. Even when no one did, I noticed. I saw you in crowded rooms where you felt invisible and in quiet places where loneliness seemed overwhelming. I was there when messages went unanswered, when invitations never came, and when you questioned whether your absence would matter to anyone. Your presence always mattered to me. I knew the responsibilities you carried and the pressure you kept hidden. People often saw what you accomplished, but they did not see the emotional cost behind it. They praised your strength while overlooking your need for rest. They relied on you without asking whether you had anything left to give. I saw when you set your own needs aside because someone else seemed to need you more. I saw when you felt guilty for wanting support, space, or relief. Your exhaustion was not selfishness, and your limits were not failure. You were never required to carry every burden without help. I was also with you when your own thoughts became your harshest accuser. You replayed mistakes, regretted decisions, and judged yourself more severely than you would ever judge someone else. You wondered whether your failures had made you unworthy of mercy, or whether you had gone too far to begin again. But I have never defined you by your worst moment. I saw every wrong choice and every season when you lost your way, yet I did not withdraw my love. I knew the regret behind your silence and the sorrow beneath your shame. When you fell, I was not standing at a distance, waiting to condemn you. I was near, calling you out of hiding, and reminding you that failure had not placed you beyond my reach. You may not have recognized the ways I sustained you. My presence did not always appear through dramatic signs. Sometimes, it was the strength to get out of bed when you wanted to disappear. Sometimes, it was the courage to complete one more task, answer one more call, or take one more step. Sometimes, it was an unexpected word of encouragement, a moment of calm in the middle of confusion, or the quiet thought that told you not to give up. You called it endurance, instinct, or coincidence, but you were being held in ways you could not yet understand. When you believed you had reached the end of your strength and still found enough courage to continue, you were not carrying yourself alone. I was there in the ordinary moments of survival, when you cried behind a closed door, drove with tears in your eyes, sat silently after everyone had gone, or gathered yourself before returning to those who needed you. I was there when you felt ashamed that an old wound still hurt. I did not compare your progress with anyone else's, nor did I become impatient with your recovery. I knew the full story behind your pain and understood the courage it required simply to keep your heart open. My child, you have always been fully seen. I know the strength others admire and the weariness they overlook. I know the faith you express and the questions you keep private. I know the parts of your story you share freely and the parts you protect because they remain tender. Nothing within you causes me to turn away. Let this truth become stronger than every rejection, every accusation, and every moment that caused you to question your value. You were seen in every hidden battle, heard in every silent prayer, and held whenever your strength began to fail. Even when you could not feel my presence, you were never outside it. Even when you questioned me, I remained near. Even when you felt forgotten, you remained before my eyes. You did not walk through those difficult seasons unseen, and you did not survive them alone. My child, now that you understand I was present through every hidden struggle, I want you to know that your pain was not meaningless. The difficult seasons did not come to erase your worth, and the years of waiting were not proof that your prayers had been rejected. Much of what happened was beyond your understanding while you were living through it. You could see the closed door, but not what stood behind it. You could feel the delay, but not the preparation taking place within you. You could recognize what had been taken away, but not yet see what was being protected, strengthened, or revealed. From where you stood, it often seemed that nothing was changing. Yet beneath the surface, important work was taking place. Think of a seed buried deep in the soil. For a time, it appears inactive. No one sees movement, growth, or any evidence of life. But beneath the ground, roots are forming before anything can rise into the light. In the same way, some of your longest seasons were developing roots that comfort alone could never have produced. You were learning how to remain steady without immediate reassurance, how to continue without applause, and how to trust when the outcome was uncertain. The waiting exposed where you had placed your confidence. It revealed how easily your peace could depend on circumstances, how strongly your identity could depend on the approval of others, and how urgently you wanted control over what could not be controlled. These discoveries were painful, but they were necessary. What remains hidden cannot be healed, strengthened, or transformed until it is brought into the light. You often asked why the answer did not come when you expected it. You believed you were ready because your desire was sincere, but desire and readiness are not always the same. Some things you requested would have required wisdom, patience, discipline, or emotional strength that had not yet been fully formed. Receiving them too soon might have created pressure you were not prepared to carry. A blessing received before its proper time can become a burden. An opportunity entered without discernment can become a trap. A relationship pursued without healthy boundaries can repeat old wounds. A responsibility accepted before your character is prepared can harm both you and the people connected to you. The delay was not always a refusal. Sometimes it was protection. Sometimes it was preparation. Sometimes it was an invitation to grow before moving forward. Closed doors also served a purpose. You saw them as rejection because you could not understand why the path you wanted remained unavailable. You wondered whether you had failed, whether you lacked favor, or whether someone else had taken what should have belonged to you. Yet not every open door would have led you toward peace, integrity, or purpose. Some opportunities looked promising because you could see only their entrance, not their destination. Some connections appeared valuable but would have required you to compromise who you were becoming. Some plans seemed right because they matched your desires, but they did not match the life you were being prepared to live. What disappointed you in the moment may have spared you from deeper regret later. You do not have to call every closed door good, but you can recognize that not every denial was destruction. Some endings redirected you before you invested more of your life in something that could not sustain you. The betrayals also revealed truths you had been unwilling or unable to see. You may have ignored warning signs because you wanted to believe the best. You excused behavior that repeatedly wounded you because you feared losing the relationship. You remained loyal to people who valued your support but did not honor your heart. When the truth finally became undeniable, the pain was severe. Yet betrayal did not create the character of those who hurt you. It exposed what was already there. It revealed who could be trusted with your vulnerability and who could not. It taught you that love without wisdom can become self-neglect, that forgiveness does not require unlimited access, and that compassion must be joined with discernment. The lesson was not that everyone will betray you. The lesson was that trust should be built through truth, consistency, and mutual respect, rather than hope alone. Your disappointment sharpened your ability to recognize the difference between words and character. It taught you to notice whether actions support promises and whether a relationship produces peace or constant confusion. The storms you faced also developed strength within you. Before the storm, you may have believed that strength meant never feeling afraid, never becoming tired, and never needing help. Through hardship, you learned that true strength can tremble and still continue. It can admit weakness without surrendering hope. It can rest, ask for support, and begin again. You discovered that endurance is not loud. Often, it looks like making one wise decision while surrounded by uncertainty. It looks like refusing to become cruel after being treated cruelly. It looks like preserving your integrity when bitterness would be easier. It looks like continuing to care without allowing others to misuse your heart. The person who emerged from the trial carries a deeper kind of strength than the person who entered it. Silence taught you lessons as well. When answers did not come quickly, you were forced to examine why you believed, what you expected, and whether trust could survive without constant confirmation. You learned that faith is not merely confidence that events will unfold exactly as you desire. It is the decision to remain grounded when you do not know how the story will unfold. Silence stripped away the illusion that every question must be answered immediately. It taught you to live faithfully within what you knew while accepting what remained unclear. You became more comfortable admitting that you did not understand. That humility did not weaken you. It made you wiser. It kept you from making careless promises, offering shallow explanations, or judging the journeys of others. Because you have known unanswered questions, you can now sit beside another person's pain without rushing to explain it away. Your own suffering has given you deeper compassion. You understand that people can appear strong while quietly falling apart. You recognize that grief does not follow a schedule and that healing cannot be demanded. You are less likely to dismiss another person's fear because you remember your own. You know that sometimes presence is more helpful than advice, and that listening can be more loving than speaking. What wounded you has expanded your ability to care with patience and understanding. Pain did not automatically make you better, but the way you continued to face it created the possibility of growth. You learned what mattered and what did not. Certain ambitions lost their power over you. Some opinions no longer controlled your choices. You became less impressed by appearances and more attentive to character. You began to value peace over performance, honesty over approval, and depth over recognition. The struggle removed illusions that comfort had allowed you to keep. It showed you which habits strengthened you and which ones quietly drained you. It revealed where you needed boundaries, where you needed humility, and where you had been afraid to change. The process was uncomfortable because growth often requires releasing an identity that once helped you survive. You may have been known as the person who never said no, never needed anything, or always held everyone together. But that identity was exhausting you. Hardship revealed that being needed is not the same as being loved, and that sacrificing yourself completely is not the same as serving with wisdom. Not every painful event was sent as a lesson, and not every loss should be reduced to a simple explanation. Some things happened because people made harmful choices. Some circumstances were unfair. Some losses remain difficult to understand. I am not asking you to pretend that evil was good or that grief did not matter. I am asking you to see that pain did not receive the final authority over who you became. What happened to you influenced your story, but it did not have the power to define its meaning forever. The wound may have been caused by another person, but the wisdom growing from it now belongs to you. The season may have taken something precious, but it could not take away your ability to become more discerning, compassionate, courageous, and truthful. Your scars are not proof that you were defeated. They are evidence that the wound did not end your story. You are not the same person who first entered these trials. You understand yourself more honestly. You recognize unhealthy patterns sooner. You know the limits of your own strength and the importance of remaining grounded. You have learned that patience is not passivity, that boundaries are not cruelty, and that uncertainty is not the same as abandonment. The road changed you. It removed some things, strengthened others, and revealed qualities you did not know you possessed. Do not call those years empty simply because they did not produce the results you expected. Growth was taking place even when progress was difficult to measure. The waiting deepened your roots. The closed doors redirected your path. The betrayals sharpened your discernment. The silence matured your faith. The storms taught you endurance. The wounds expanded your compassion. None of this erases the pain, but it shows that the pain did not have to be wasted. You can now look back without calling every hardship a punishment or every delay a rejection. You were being shaped through circumstances you would never have chosen. What once seemed like evidence that your life had stopped was often the hidden beginning of a stronger, wiser, and more grounded version of you. My child, now you must decide what you will continue carrying and what you are finally willing to place in my hands. You have spent long enough allowing old pain, fear, shame, and disappointment to direct your thoughts. These burdens may have become familiar, but they were never meant to become your permanent identity. You cannot change what happened, control every outcome, or force others to understand the harm they caused. But you can choose what will govern your heart from this moment forward. I'm inviting you to surrender not as an act of defeat, but as an act of trust. Surrender means releasing the belief that everything depends on your ability to predict, control, and repair every part of your life. It means admitting that some answers are beyond your reach and that some situations cannot be healed through greater effort alone. You have tried to hold everything together because you feared what might happen if you loosened your grip. You believed constant worry would keep you prepared, that replaying the past might help you understand it, or that controlling every detail could protect you from being hurt again. Yet worry has not given you certainty. It has only exhausted you. Control has not brought lasting peace. It has kept your mind trapped in endless possibilities. I am not asking you to become careless or passive. I am asking you to stop confusing fear with wisdom. Wisdom prepares responsibly and then releases what it cannot control. Fear prepares endlessly but never feels safe. Learn to recognize the difference. Begin with what is weighing most heavily on you. Name it honestly. Do not hide behind general words when your heart knows the specific burden. Tell me about the relationship that still troubles you, the decision you are afraid to make, the mistake you cannot forgive yourself for, or the future you are desperately trying to secure. You do not need to minimize it or make it sound spiritual. Speak truthfully. Surrender begins where pretending ends. You cannot release what you refuse to acknowledge. Bring the anger, confusion, disappointment, and grief into the light. I am not asking you to deny your emotions. I am asking you to stop allowing them to rule every decision. Feelings can reveal what needs attention, but they were never meant to become your only guide. Anger may reveal that a boundary was crossed, but it cannot be allowed to choose your response. Fear may alert you to risk, but it must not imprison you. Sadness may honor what was lost, but it cannot be permitted to convince you that nothing meaningful remains. Listen to what your emotions are revealing, then bring them under the authority of truth. You must also release shame. Shame has told you that your mistakes are not merely things you did, but proof of who you are. It has repeated old accusations until you began to believe that you are permanently damaged, unworthy, or disqualified. But honest repentance and shame are not the same. Repentance acknowledges wrong, accepts responsibility, and chooses a better direction. Shame keeps you trapped, staring backward, and convinced that change is impossible. You are responsible for learning from your mistakes, making amends where appropriate, and refusing to repeat harmful patterns. You are not required to punish yourself forever. Endless self-condemnation does not repair the past. It only prevents you from living differently in the present. Admit what must be admitted. Apologize where an apology is owed. Correct what can still be corrected. Then stop returning to the same accusation after the lesson has been received. Forgiveness is another part of your surrender. You have carried resentment because it seemed to protect you from forgetting what happened. You feared that releasing your anger would mean declaring the harm acceptable or allowing the person who hurt you to escape responsibility. But forgiveness does not erase the truth. It does not require you to deny your pain, restore unsafe access, or remain in a relationship that continues to injure you. Forgiveness means refusing to allow another person's wrongdoing to control your inner life indefinitely. It means surrendering the desire to keep the wound alive as proof that the offense mattered. The offense mattered, and I saw it. You do not need to remain bitter for the truth to remain true. Release the demand that the past become different. Release the fantasy that one perfect conversation will make the other person fully understand. Release the expectation that an apology must arrive before you can begin healing. You may still require boundaries. You may need distance, accountability, or wise counsel. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same. Forgiveness can begin within your own heart, but reconciliation requires honesty, change, and mutual responsibility. Do not use forgiveness as an excuse to return to patterns that repeatedly destroy your peace. Compassion does not require unlimited access. Love can be sincere, while boundaries remain firm. Let your decisions be guided by wisdom rather than guilt. You must also release the need for everyone to approve of your next step. You have delayed necessary choices because you feared disappointing people who had become comfortable with the version of you that never said no. Some benefited from your silence, your overgiving, or your willingness to carry responsibilities that belong to them. As you become healthier, not everyone will celebrate. Some may call your boundaries selfish because your exhaustion once served their convenience. Listen carefully, but do not surrender your conscience to every opinion. Examine your motives honestly. Seek wise counsel. Correct yourself when necessary, but do not abandon what is right simply because someone else dislikes the change. Your life cannot be directed entirely by the fear of being misunderstood. There are also habits of thought you must confront. You have repeated certain lies so often that they now feel like facts. Nothing will ever change. I always fail. Everyone leaves. I am too late. I cannot trust anyone. I must handle everything alone. These statements may have grown from real experiences, but they are not complete truths. One painful season does not define every season. One failure does not determine every future choice. One betrayal does not mean that every person is unsafe. Each time one of these thoughts rises, pause and examine it. Ask whether it is true, whether it is helpful, and whether it leads you toward wisdom or fear. Replace it with a more honest truth. I have failed, but I can learn. I have been hurt, but I can develop discernment. I do not know the outcome, but I can take the next responsible step. I cannot control everything, but I am not without guidance. Transformation often begins through these quiet corrections. Faith is not merely an emotion you wait to feel. It is expressed through the choices you make while uncertainty remains. You may not receive the entire plan, but you can obey what is already clear. Make the call you have avoided. Have the honest conversation. Seek professional help when the burden exceeds what you can manage alone. Rest when your body is warning you. End the habit that repeatedly pulls you backward. Admit when you need support. Take responsibility for your finances, health, relationships, and commitments. Spiritual surrender is not an excuse to neglect practical action. Trust and responsibility must work together. You place the outcome in my hands while taking ownership of the step that belongs to you. Do not demand certainty before moving. Many decisions become clearer only after you begin walking with integrity. You may want a guarantee that you will not make a mistake, but maturity does not mean never choosing imperfectly. It means remaining teachable, correcting your direction when necessary, and refusing to let fear keep you motionless. Take the next faithful step, not the entire journey at once. What is the most honest action available to you today? What conversation requires courage? What boundary needs to be established? What responsibility have you been avoiding? What burden are you carrying that was never yours? Begin there. Small acts of obedience can restore order to a life that has felt overwhelming. You must also learn to create space for stillness. Do not fill every quiet moment with noise simply because silence makes you uncomfortable. Sit with me before reacting. Pray before sending the message you wrote in anger. Wait before making a decision driven by panic. Give your emotions time to settle so that your response can come from clarity rather than impulse. Stillness does not mean doing nothing. It means refusing to be controlled by urgency that has not been tested by wisdom. Some problems require immediate action, but many become worse because you respond before understanding what is truly happening. Slow down enough to choose rather than react. Release comparison as well. Another person's progress does not prove that you have been forgotten. Their timing is not your standard. Their public success does not reveal the private cost of their journey. Each time you measure your life against someone else's, you lose sight of the work directly in front of you. Focus on the responsibilities, relationships, and opportunities you have been given. Gratitude will help restore your perspective. It does not require you to ignore what is difficult. It simply prevents hardship from becoming the only thing you can see. Notice what remains, what is growing, and what you are still able to do. Gratitude and grief can exist together. You can mourn what was lost while honoring what has not been taken. My child, surrender must become more than a moment of emotional relief. It must become a daily practice. Each morning, release what you cannot control. Each time fear returns, choose truth again. Each time resentment rises, refuse to feed it. Each time shame repeats an old accusation, remember what you have learned and continue moving forward. You may need to surrender the same burden more than once. That does not mean you have failed. It means trust is being practiced. Do not wait until you feel completely ready. Readiness often grows through action. Open your hands. Release the past without denying it. Accept responsibility without condemning yourself. Forgive without abandoning wisdom. Establish boundaries without hatred. Take practical steps without trying to control the outcome. Listen carefully, act honestly, and remain teachable. You do not need to carry yesterday into every decision you make today. You are being invited to respond differently, to choose faith over fear, truth over accusation, wisdom over impulse, and surrender over control. My child, As you release what has held you back and choose to move forward in faith, understand that your future does not have to repeat your past. The same fear, shame, confusion, and pain that once shaped your decisions do not have to govern the next season of your life. You are not moving forward as the same person who first entered the struggle. You now carry greater wisdom, deeper discernment, stronger boundaries, and a clearer understanding of what truly matters. The wounds may have changed you, but they do not have to control you. The past may explain some of your fears, but it does not have the authority to determine what comes next. Freedom begins when you stop allowing yesterday's pain to speak as though it knows tomorrow. You may still remember what happened, but memory does not have to become a prison. You may still feel sadness at times, but sadness does not mean you have lost your progress. Healing does not erase every scar or remove every difficult emotion. It changes your relationship with them. What once overwhelmed you can become something you acknowledge without surrendering your peace. What once defined your identity can become part of your story without becoming the whole story. You are learning to say, "This happened to me, but it is not all that I am." That is freedom. It is not pretending the past was easy. It is refusing to live beneath its authority forever. I am leading you into a life where shame no longer has the final word. You have spent enough time replaying your mistakes and believing that your failures disqualified you from joy, purpose, or a meaningful future. Learn from what happened. Remain humble. Take responsibility where necessary. But do not continue punishing yourself after the lesson has been received. Guilt can point you toward correction, but shame only keeps you hidden. You are not created to live with your head lowered, constantly expecting judgment. Lift your eyes. Walk in honesty, not condemnation. Let your future choices show that you have grown. You do not prove that you have changed by hating who you once were. You prove it by living differently now. Peace will also become more familiar to you. For a long time, your mind may have been trained to expect danger, disappointment, or rejection. Even when circumstances were calm, part of you remained alert, waiting for something to go wrong. You learned to survive by anticipating problems before they appeared. But survival habits are not always suitable for a season of healing. You are allowed to experience peace without questioning whether it will be taken away. You are allowed to rest without feeling guilty. You are allowed to enjoy a good moment without preparing yourself for disaster. Peace may not come all at once. It may arrive gradually as you learn to breathe more deeply, respond more slowly, and stop treating every uncertainty as a threat. Protect that peace. Do not willingly return to environments, habits, or relationships that repeatedly destroy it. Peace is not weakness, and protecting it is not selfishness. It is part of becoming whole. Your emotional healing will require patience. Some wounds will close quietly. Others may require honest conversations, professional support, time, and repeated acts of courage. Do not believe that seeking help is evidence of weak faith. Wisdom often comes through people who are trained to guide, counsel, treat, and support you. Take care of your mind and body. Pay attention to signs of exhaustion, anxiety, or depression. Pray, but also accept practical help. Rest, but also take responsible action. Healing is not always sudden. Sometimes it is found in daily choices, keeping an appointment, taking prescribed treatment, speaking honestly, setting a boundary, returning to a healthy routine, or asking someone trustworthy to walk beside you. Do not despise gradual progress. A life can be restored one faithful decision at a time. Your relationships may also begin to change. Some will grow stronger because you are becoming more honest and emotionally healthy. Others may become distant because they depended on your silence, fear, or lack of boundaries. Do not measure every relationship by whether it remains unchanged. Healthy relationships make room for truth, responsibility, mutual respect, and growth. They do not require you to disappear in order to keep the peace. Where reconciliation is possible and safe, approach it with humility. Be willing to listen, apologize, forgive, and rebuild trust slowly. But do not confuse reconciliation with immediately returning to the same conditions that caused harm. Trust is restored through consistent actions, not promises alone. Where unity can be rebuilt, pursue it wisely. Where distance is necessary, maintain it without hatred. You can wish someone well without allowing them to wound you again. You can forgive and still move forward separately. In time, new relationships may enter your life, people who value honesty, respect your boundaries, and do not require you to perform in order to be accepted. Do not rush into these connections out of loneliness. Allow trust to develop naturally. Pay attention to character rather than charm, consistency rather than intensity, and peace rather than excitement alone. You are not called to isolate yourself forever because someone once betrayed you. Neither are you required to offer immediate access to everyone who appears kind. Walk with an open heart and wise eyes. Let people show you who they are over time. The right relationships will not demand that you abandon yourself in order to belong. I will also guide you in the practical areas of your life. You may be concerned about finances, work, responsibilities, health, or opportunities that have not yet appeared. Do not allow hope to become fantasy or faith to become passivity. Provision often comes through wisdom, discipline, learning, planning, work, community, and unexpected opportunities. Use what is already in your hands with care. Review your choices. Reduce what is unnecessary. Ask for advice where you lack knowledge. Develop skills that may open new paths. Be faithful in small responsibilities rather than waiting for one dramatic change to solve everything. New opportunities may come, but you must be prepared to recognize and manage them. An open door is not always a promise of ease. Sometimes it is an invitation to grow, work, and serve in a new way. Enter with gratitude, but also with discernment. Do not accept every opportunity simply because it appears. Ask whether it aligns with your values, responsibilities, and long-term well-being. What brings increase but destroys your peace may not be true progress. What appears small but strengthens your character may be more valuable than it first seems. Your physical health also deserves care. Do not ignore your body while speaking only about spiritual strength. Your body carries the effects of stress, grief, exhaustion, and time. Treat it with respect. Seek medical attention when necessary. Follow sound guidance. Nourish yourself, move when you are able, rest when you need to, and do not delay care because of fear. Healing may come through medicine, treatment, surgery, therapy, lifestyle changes, prayer, or a combination of many things. Do not pressure yourself to prove your faith by refusing help. Your life has value, and caring for it is an act of responsibility. Even when complete healing does not happen as quickly as you hope, you can still receive strength, peace, support, and wisdom for each day. Your purpose will also become clearer as you continue moving forward. Purpose is not always a public platform, a remarkable achievement, or something that earns recognition. It may be found in the way you care for your family, serve your community, encourage someone in pain, create honest work, or use your experience to guide others with compassion. The difficult parts of your story have given you an understanding that cannot be learned through theory alone. You know what loneliness feels like. You know what it means to wait, to begin again, and to keep moving when certainty is gone. That knowledge can become a source of comfort for someone else. Your testimony is not only the story of what happened to you, it is the story of who you became while walking through it. Share it with humility, not to place yourself above others, but to remind them that pain does not have to be the end. As you enter this new season, do not expect every day to feel powerful. Some days will be ordinary, some will require patience. Old fears may return, and difficult memories may rise. When they do not assume that you have lost everything you gained. Return to what you know, breathe, pray honestly, reach out for support, reestablish your boundaries, correct your thoughts, take the next responsible step. Growth is not a straight line, and healing is not invalidated by a difficult day. You are learning a new way of living, and that takes time. Be gentle with yourself without becoming careless. Be patient without becoming passive. Be hopeful without denying reality. My child, walk forward with quiet confidence. You do not need to force the future or prove anything to those who doubted you. Let your peace, wisdom, character, and choices speak for you. What once controlled you is losing its power. What once silenced you is becoming part of the strength in your voice. What once made you believe your story was over is becoming evidence that a new chapter is possible. You are not walking alone. I will remain with you through the progress and the setbacks, through the open doors and uncertain moments, through the healing and the waiting. Move carefully, live honestly, love wisely, trust one step at a time. The night you endured was real, but it was not endless. Mourning is not a promise that every problem will disappear. It is the assurance that darkness will not have the final word. Step into what comes next with gratitude, courage, humility, and hope. Your story is still being written, and you are free to live the next chapter differently.